to each and everyone who is gathered here this afternoon for this wonderful occasion. Of course, we want to bring greetings to persons who are joining us online, welcoming you to the debate, the presidential debate of our 2023 Associated Student Body elections. And before we begin, I just want to invite us to just bow our head as we pray. Father, as we come before you this evening for this function, this debate, we ask, for God, that all will go according to your desired will. Be with the candidates and be with everything that transpires here this afternoon, and may it be a blessing to us. Thank you for hearing our prayer and answering. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we continue to extend welcome, and I just want to let you know that you are tuning to you're tuned in to the Associated Student Body Presidential Candidate Debate. All right, I'm Benjamin Rasool. I'm the chairperson for the Student Advisory Council, otherwise known as SAC. And today, of course, it's an honor to be your moderator for this most exciting event. Well, we're just about 2 weeks from the election, the 2023 election, where you can have an opportunity to cast your vote. And we invite you just to be mindful of that, and remember, it's on April the 27th. You will have that opportunity. Now, the candidates would have been introduced to you, remember, during the International Student Week on March the 29th, and you would have had an opportunity to be exposed to the two teams that are competing or vying in the elections, along with the independent candidates. So all of the candidates would have made representation that day. And so we have two teams that are vying. We have Team Excelsior and we have Team Uplift, along with other candidates that are individual, totaling a number of 29 candidates nominated to vie in the upcoming 2023 Associated Student Body election. So at this time, we will just let you know that we have two wonderful individuals, and I know history is somewhat repeating itself. For the second time, we have two female representing the teams, representing themselves as the presidential candidates. And so we have with us this evening, and I invite you to make welcome Miss Christina Lameche. Miss Christina Lameche, and she is of Team Uplift. And we then have Miss Fatima Valere. Miss Fatima Valere, she is with Team Excelsior. Team Excelsior. I just want to give us a quick rundown as to the rules for the debate as we get into it. Candidates will be allotted 2 minutes to answer the questions that are posited to them. After that time is expired, you will hear the sound off. You will hear the sound of the bell to indicate to you the time is up. And after which, the other candidate will have an opportunity to make a rebuttal. And that will go for 1 minute. You're allotted 1 minute for rebuttals. And having completed rebuttals, if there is a alternate or subsequent rebuttal, then that time will be 30 seconds. 30 seconds will be allotted for that rebuttal. All right, so I trust that those rules are understood. And just let me repeat it quickly. 2 minutes for the initial questions posited to the person who answers first. And thereafter, the person who's rebutting has 1 minute to do so. Thereafter, if there is a subsequent rebuttal on the previous rebuttal, then that time is 30 seconds. All right, and we have already, by virtue of an activity, determined who will be taking the first go at the questions, and thereafter we will alternate accordingly. All right, so are we ready to commence? Yes, we are. Excellent. So this evening I want to, of course, give the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves to you, and at this time I will invite Ms. Fatima Valere. Ms. Fatima Valere to do so.
Hello, is everyone hearing me? First and foremost, I have to be honest, I'm a little nervous, but hopefully throughout this, the nervousness go away. So you all may know me as Fatima Valere or Zahara. I am a third-year bio major with a biomedical emphasis, and I was born right here in the beautiful island of Trinidad. What else should I say about me that you guys don't already know? I am part of NUSTA's executive. You know, I'm a hardworking individual. Communication is easy for me, and I'm not new to this. It's something I have been doing for a while. Being in leadership positions is something that always naturally comes to me. I am not afraid of serving the people, because servitude is something very common in Islam. And I take joy in being able to make people's dreams come true in the best of my ability, of course, because, you know, we're not going to have a very expansive budget. I'm already looking at that. So all I have to say is I hope you guys enjoy the debate. It should be exciting, and I look forward to being your future ASB president.
Ms. Lamesh.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christina Lemech. I am a proud citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. I am a third-year education major, and for me, what that brings to the table, because of my history and my chosen career path is in education, I believe it equips me with many traits and qualities that can assist with the student population at USC. A quality that I possess along with my program, it's my ability to listen. I listen not to respond, I listen to understand, and my love to serve the student population. I am a student worker currently, and in that capacity I have been allowed to serve a lot of the students here on campus. I also am assisting in a lot of other activities on campus. So yes, I know what our students experience. As a student myself, I see and I hear the issues, and I believe that equips me to represent you as president for the upcoming ASB. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, presidential candidates, for just introducing yourselves to us. All right, so at this time, it brings us to our very first question. And while we get prepared for the questions, I just want to invite persons who are viewing online, persons who are viewing online and persons who are present with us. You have the opportunity also to present questions to the candidates at just about the end of the debate. So feel free to get your questions drafted so that they can be asked. You will be accommodated, so be reminded of that. All right, so as we get into what we've really seek to get into this evening. The first question, which goes to Ms. Fatima Valere, presidential candidate for team. Ms. Fatima Valere, the presidential candidate for Team Excelsior. What?
Okay, it's okay, go ahead.
Right, so we're asking, so what motivated you to vie for the office of president of the associated student body? What motivated you to vie for the office of the associated student body president?
That is a really good question. The student body president is nothing new to me. As soon as I joined USC, it was one of the first subcommittees I ever became a part of. I really enjoy being able to make a difference, and being able to make a difference usually comes with positions of power. Also, as I previously said, being able to serve is nothing new to me as well. I see a lot of stuff on campus that needs changing and rectification, and sometimes the only ways these things can be changed is by having someone who is willing to take that stern initiative and go up against those who may be higher than us to really say, okay, this is what the students want, and I am going to push to ensure that they get that. Because seeing so much stuff that has to be changed on campus and in our university really gave me that final push to say, okay, this year I am definitely going to join ASB because I believe I can make a difference. I hear so much complaints and so much grievances, and I honestly believe just having that initiative and the drive that I have in order to really give people's voices the backing that it needs will be a success. So those were my main points of why I really intended to join the student body.
All right, thank you, Ms. Valere. I have not received a signal indicating that there's anything that needs to be spoken to from that presentation. So we move to Ms. Christina. The question is, what motivated you to vie for the office of the President of the Associated Student Body? What motivated you to vie for the office of the President of the Associated Student Body Executive?
Okay, and as my colleague said, yes, that is a really good question. For me, as an education major, I see and I understand what holistic education is about. And I would like for other students, all our other students here, to experience holistic education. I also believe that students should have a control, some sort of control over their education through having a representation, an effective representation, with us setting, achievable goals that would bring that experience to the student population. I also, because of my love to impart knowledge and to also see persons happy and passionate about what they choose to do as a career path, I believe it motivates me to further interact and meet and serve the student population towards becoming that better individual holistically that they can be. And that is what motivated me to vie for this position.
All right, thank you, Ms. Christina Lamesh. All right, so the next question, I'm not seeing a sign or signal of rebuttal of anything that would have been mentioned. All right, so the next question goes to Ms. Christina Lamesh. All right, and this question is, what is the most significant objective you aim to accomplish as president if elected, and how would you accomplish it? The question is, what is the most significant objective you aim to accomplish as president? And if elected, how would you accomplish it?
Okay, so one of the issues we as students have at USC is communication. So I would like to open that communication channel between not just ASB executives, but also between administration. And how I would like to do that. Students, we sometimes don't, voice our opinions and complaints because we think they're not being heard. However, with introductions such as town hall meetings, online platforms where they can submit their issues to us, and us as the student representatives then go and meet with administration to come to that uniform and effective solution to bridge that gap between the student population and the administration. That is my main goal, and as I said, town hall meetings would be one of my main my main method of achieving that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lamesh. No sign of, is there a rebuttal?
No.
All right, so the question is posed to you, it's posed to you, Ms. Valère, and I'll repeat. What is the most significant objective you aim to accomplish as president if elected, and how would you accomplish it? So the question is, what is the most significant objective you aim to accomplish as president, and if elected, how do you wish to accomplish it?
I would say my most significant objective is creating a third place. As a COVID baby, as I like to call it myself, a lot of us have not have the full campus experience. We came straight from being online and thrown into something we weren't accustomed to. And the lack of third places in school makes that transition something extremely difficult. When I say creating a third places, I mean something as simple as having a student center or a lounge. That is literally my main objective for if I do become ASB president, because by creating that third place, as I like to call it, we will also in turn be increasing the student activity in the school. Because when people have a place where they could go and relax between classes, they could take a chill, you know, relax themselves, not have so much stress. That makes it easier for one to now want to be willing to participate in student activities, especially for our commuting students. One of the main problems we have here in school is the lack of participation from a lot of our local students right here. And that's simply because campus is not accessible to everyone. You just come to classes and you leave. And that is not how the university's experience is supposed to be. As my colleague said, it's all about being holistic, a whole holistic learning. And by creating that third place, which is my main objective, I do intend to help bridge that gap between our students when it comes to participation in events.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Valliere. All right, so the next question remains with Ms. Valliere. The next question is, how will you as president maintain efficiency and effectiveness of your team throughout your tenure? How will you as president maintain efficiency and effectiveness of your team throughout your term in office?
Okay, that question is not too hard. I mean, first and foremost, we have technology. I think implementing technology into the way we communicate with each other would also help with efficiency. I have already been building something, as I call it, the community, well, the USC Hub, which is basically a community of group chats that everyone could have access to. And basically having communication through that channel would make it easier for us as ASB executives to also be able to communicate with the student body. And by having that interaction between the student body and us as executives, I guess it will make it easier for us to understand what it is the student wants, and in turn make it that we could rectify those situations one time. Instead of waiting to have a meeting on a Sunday, well, not a Sunday, nobody's been in school, but waiting to have a meeting on a Thursday afternoon in order to then rectify it. The use of social media will make it easier that my team and I run the ASB smoothly. And that is going to be my main form of communication. Our social media, I intend to definitely keep the beautiful channel that Vianney implemented, because it's a really great initiative and I'm stealing that. And also the Instagram page as well. Having those levels of communication with the students and the executive will make that transition way more easy and way smoother.
Thank you, Ms. Valliere. All right, so the next the question is now posited to Ms. Christina. Ms. Christina Lameche, how will you as president maintain the efficiency and effectiveness of your team throughout your term? Repeat the question, how will you as president maintain the efficiency and effectiveness of your team throughout your tenure?
Okay, to answer that question, first and foremost, we need to be efficient and transparent amongst ourselves as executives. So what we propose is monthly feedback or reviews to keep our executive on track. If we propose to do certain things, we want to ensure that we are kept on task. Along with that, the use, as my colleague says, of the channel, the ASB Now podcast that is going on, and with other avenues, using that the channel to throw forth the information and what we plan, what we accomplish, everything that we do that the students need to know, or they should know actually, giving us that transparency, making us to be effective and efficient during our tenure as ASB. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we're having a rebuttal from Ms. Fatima Valliere, and there's 1 minute allotted to do so.
Great. I just want to know, do you think that the monthly meetings will be effective? I mean, considering we live in such a fast-paced time as it is now, waiting till the end of a month in order to really deal with a situation. Don't you think that is too much time in order for the situation to stew? Why not give it about a week, maybe almost 2? Why specifically the month?
So the reason why I said a month in terms of plans, so remember with us having plans, We will have, obviously, as ASB, we will have meetings throughout the month. But to present to the student population, our student population, we will have a concise version at the end of a month presented to the students through the use of the channel and through our feedbacks.
Great. So the monthly meetings that you describe are more for the student population than for you and your committee?
Right. So for us, as the executive, we will have our weekly or bi-weekly meetings where we will be accountable there.
All right, thank you so much. Just want to continue to remind us that the rebuttals will be 1 minute, and if there's an answer, if there's a rebuttal to the previous rebuttal, then 30 seconds will be allotted, and we move on to the next question. All right, so this question now goes to Ms. Lamesh, Christina Lamesh, and the question is, constitutionally, all candidates are individually vying for their respective positions. There is a possibility that candidates who are not members of your team may be elected. How do you intend to cooperate with or integrate the elected officers who campaign as a member of another team or individually during the election if all of the members of your team are not elected to office? I'll repeat the question. Constitutionally, all candidates are individually vying for their respective positions. There is a possibility that candidates who are not members of your team may be elected. The question is, how do you intend to cooperate with or integrate the elected officers who campaign as a member of another team or individually during the election if all of the members of your team are not elected to office?
Okay, that's an excellent question, and we are aware that the team may have persons from the other team as they win after the elections. To combat that, early on in our tenure, it is recommended that we have a team bonding exercise where we as the executive get to know each other, where we get to share our ideas, our views, and that way it creates a bond within the new ASB executive. So we are at ease with each other, and we move forward with our plans seamlessly throughout our tenure.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lamesh. We now posit the question to Ms. Valère, Ms. Fatima Valère. I repeat, constitutionally, all candidates are individually vying for their respective positions. There is a possibility that candidates who are not members of your team may be elected. How do you intend to cooperate with or integrate the elected officers who campaign as a member of another team or individually during the election if all the members of your team are not elected to office? Let me just repeat that once. Constitutionally, all candidates are individually vying for their respective positions. There is a possibility that candidates who are not members of your team may be elected. The question is, how do you intend to cooperate with or integrate the elected officers who campaign as a member of another team or individually during the election if all of the members of your team are not elected to office?
That is a great question, Benjamin, and funnily enough, it's something I have already started to implement. Because as we all know, this is individual, as Benjamin stated. It's not necessarily that when I win my presidency, everyone else on my team would also win. And for that exact reason, it's why I purposely left slots on my ASB team open. Because if it's one thing Christina did, she has some really, really beautiful candidates that I genuinely believe would be perfect for that spot. For example, Shanti and Alreen. And because of that, their spots are left uncontested. Because I see that they could bring something valuable to the holistic thing of us as an ASB team. And it didn't make sense to have other people running up against them for what. And what I intend to do, obviously, when other people of their team do win, because there are some good teammates, there's a fight to give them, but is to have, as Christina said, group bonding exercises. We all really know each other, so I wouldn't say it would be a harsh transition. It would be really simple to have a conversation, have some sit-downs, even before the election is called, because being able to have those conversations now, when we're considered quote-unquote on opposing sides, would already tell us how well we can mesh with each other. And as Christina and I have been planning for a while, to have some sit-downs, some discussions, to talk for this exact reason, because we do not see that everyone on each slate is not necessarily going to win. So it's something we should deal from now, instead of waiting for the elections to call and then we deal with it. We're dealing with it already. We communicate, we get to know each other, and we move on from there.
Thank you, Ms. Valliere. All right, so we move on to the next question. And this is posited to Ms. Valliere. Based on your plans and projections for the next academic year, what are your budgetary plans? And if elected, what will you do to improve transparency and accountability? Based on your plans and projections for the next academic year, what are your budgetary plans? And if elected, what will you do to improve transparency and accountability?
The first part of the question, in terms of when it comes to the budget, I would say it's not feasible for me to answer as yet, because we are unsure of what we're walking into. So therefore, as I said, Team Excelsior's whole thing is innovation, and to almost similar to Christina's idea, is more like have a monthly breakdown to the students so they will know exactly where the money goes to, or if not monthly, after each main event. Like when we have the freshers or when we have the hikes or anything of the sort, I do intend to have a breakdown to show students, okay, this is exactly where your money went, X, Y, and Z, this is what happened. And of course, if it's within my means and I am allowed to, I would of course do this, because I believe when people see where their money is going to and exactly how it is spending, it makes them more comfortable and also willing to put out as well. Because when a student understands that, okay, this registration fee I'm paying here is not just for free, it's actually going to something, it would help motivate them to actually want to engage in more of the student activities that the ASB does intend to have.
Thank you, Ms. Valliere. All right, so the question is posited to Ms. Lamesh. Ms. Lamesh, based on your plans and projections for the next academic year, what are your budgetary plans, and if elected, what will you do to improve transparency and accountability? Based on your plans and projections for the next academic year, what are your budgetary plans, and if elected, what will you do to improve transparency and accountability?
Okay, so in reference to the question, we are looking at forecasting, and when I say forecasting, we will look at what previous budgets looked like, and we project from that. However, as my colleague says, we don't know exactly what we are going to get, what we are going into. However, with forecasting, we can say, well, okay, this is approximately what we may need, and when we are presented with the budget that we have, we will know, okay, we can cut down on this, we can remove this, we can fix it to suit. That being said, to increase the transparency, we had initially indicated that we do audits on our finances on a regular, because when it comes to finance, students, as my colleague said, they want to know what they are paying for, where the money is going to, why is it going there, and how does it benefit the student population. And with audits, we can present to the student population. Again, that could be something within our monthly, the monthly forecasting that we give to the students after every month. You know, that budget breakdown, okay, this is how much we spent on what, and this is what is coming back to the student population. This is what we serve and we give back to you, the students. So yes, that's the answer to the question.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Valliere. Thank you, Ms. Lamesh, for your response, and I'm observing a signal of rebuttal from Ms. Valliere.
Rebuttal is such a harsh term, Benjamin. It's just one question. Would you say that using the forecast to determine how you should go about your budget is a wise choice, considering that our admissions rate from during the COVID time and post-COVID time has a very great contrast? So what would you say you would make up for that in order that that forecast is far from accurate?
Okay, so the forecast from 5 years ago, yes, it will be inaccurate. However, if we observe in the last year or two, I believe that it will be closer to what our enrollment look like presently. So we won't go as far back as 5 years, because it will not be feasible to do that. However, if we look at the past academic year, we can safely say, okay, this is what it may be, and we will come up with our plans. We will budget our plans accordingly.
Great.
All right, thank you. As we move on to the next question, which brings us to the final question in this segment as we just approach our halfway mark. The Associated Student Body, the question is to Ms. Christina Lemesh. The Associated Student Body is described as the voice for all USC students. How do you plan to collaborate with administration of the university to ensure the USHN voice is heard? The Associated Student Body is described as a voice for all USHN students. How do you plan to collaborate with the administration of the university to ensure the USHN voice is heard?
Okay, excellent question. And something as small as our communication channel can work towards that gap that we have there. So you would have heard me mention previously about town hall meetings, but something as simply as us having meetings with administration, bringing those issues to them, that can bridge that gap of communication and that, allowing the students' voice to be heard to the administration. With that, we can work with the administration to come with a suitable solution that will assist our students and will also uplift the university on a whole. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That brings us now to the end of the first segment. We will just have a 30-second break as we transition to the other end. All right. I have my apologies.
Benjamin.
All right, just before we
Benjamin.
transition to the end of the first segment, on my part of error, the question was not posited to Ms. Valère. So, Ms. Valère, the Associated Student Body is described as the voice for all USHN students or all USC students. How do you intend to or plan to collaborate with administration of the university to ensure the USHN voice is heard? Let me ask that again. The Associated Student Body is described as the voice for all USC students. How do you intend or how do you plan to collaborate with the administration of the university to ensure the USHN voice is heard?
Okay, so first and foremost, I do not see the ASB as only the voice of the student body, a voice that speaks. We're also the hands, and that means action. When it comes in terms to bridging that gap with administration, I intend to do it with a little more force, of course within bounds. I would like to say I'm a bit persuasive when it comes to certain things, and relentless. It's obvious that we as the ASB would always have sit-down and communication and meetings with the administration, but how much is actually heard during these events? I know as just the student body or just the ASB, some people may be afraid in order to really push a point through to see the action. I am not. I intend to push until I see improvement because as we know, Excelsior's whole tagline is excellence through service, and I intend to serve. So once I am able to, and if I am elected, I would bridge that gap by ensuring that the student body's voice is heard through action.
Thank you so much. All right, and as indicated, that brings us just to the end of the first segment, and we'll just take a very short break as we transition into the next portion of our debate.
That's the break now.
Oh, yeah, to make sure that.
So we could move.
Just want to let you know you're joining the Associated Student Body Elections Presidential Candidates Debate. All right, so if you would have joined us recently, we just want to remind you that we're having the Associated Student Body Presidential Candidate 2023 debate. All right, so we stopped off at the point where we would have asked the first set of questions to the presidential candidates. And at this time, just want to remind us of the rules of the debate. Of course, we have 2 minutes to answer questions posited, 1 minute per rebuttal, and 30 seconds if there's an alternate or subsequent rebuttal. Of course, reminding us that during the rebuttals, it's to address any issue that is arising out of what has been said by the candidate. And of course, thereafter, that speaks for the rebuttal that comes subsequently, if such is indicated. Okay, so at this time, we remind persons online that you can also posit your question via our YouTube chat. And persons who are present with us, you also would have an opportunity to ask the question at the end of our debate. We are progressing to the second half, which presumably is a shorter section as we progress with our debate for this afternoon. So we would have had the opportunity as we continue to have fielded questions from students. And some of the questions that were asked by students will now be raised with the candidates for answers. All right, so as we go to Ms. Valère, who will be answering the first student-posited question. Ms. Valère, and reminding you that Ms. Fatima Valère is the presidential candidate for the Team Excelsior. All right, Team Excelsior, and Ms. Christina Lameche, is the presidential candidate for Team Uplift. So the question is posited to Ms. Fatima Valère of Team Excelsior. Promoting mental health is a topic often discussed. How would you ensure that the mental health of the USHN student is prioritized or given the relevant attention it requires? Promoting mental health is a topic often discussed. How would you ensure that the mental health of the USHN student is prioritized or given the attention it requires?
That's a great question, especially considering we came out of pandemic and we saw an increase of, mental health issues in our younger population. As someone myself who struggles with this, what I intend to do is make our counseling service more accessible. I believe really and truly we have 3 main counselors, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be less, and that is not enough. We have over 3,000 students just on this campus alone, and it's not easy for everyone to book a session to then go into our Lister, sit down and be able to have the grievances heard and make their minds at ease. So what I intend is online sessions. It should be easier, I believe, to also have an online platform for these counseling sessions that the school could implement to make it more accessible to students.
Thank you, Ms. Valère. All right, we having not seen any sign of rebuttal from Ms. Lameche. The question is posited to Ms. Lameche, and promoting mental health is a topic often discussed. How would you ensure that the mental health of the USHN student is prioritized or given the attention it requires? I repeat the question. Promoting mental health is a topic often discussed. How would you ensure that the mental health of the USHN student is prioritized or given the attention it requires?
Okay, first and foremost, a lot of our students are not aware of the counseling service that we actually have on campus. And yes, while it may not be sufficient in terms of persons who are employed in that department to counsel persons, we would first like the students to be aware that they have counseling services available to them. That being said, we also would like to implement sessions, more down-to-earth sessions. So at USC currently we have wellness days and wellness weeks where we would actually come up to the auditorium and workshops are done. However, if we look at having these workshops in a more relaxed environment, not in an auditorium, but maybe in the car park or maybe in the field, it may encourage students to attend where they can gain some knowledge into what they are experiencing and assisting them in transitioning, even from us who started online to the face-to-face, those students who just came out from secondary school. It's a different experience coming out from secondary school, going straight into university. But they may not feel comfortable in a setting such as this where they have to come up to the auditorium. Something more relaxed will benefit the students, and that is some of the plans that we have in reference to mental health.
All right, thank you, Ms. Villiers. Ms. Lamesh. Moving on, I'm observing a rebuttal from Ms. Villiers. 1 minute allotted for the rebuttal.
I agree that the workshop idea is indeed a positive idea that would make students more aware in terms of when it comes to mental health. However, I would say that doesn't answer the roots of the question or fix the roots of the problem. We do really need more available spaces for students to be able to air their grievances. Hence, my idea of having us utilize our online platform to have that one-on-one communication. Because when someone is really down on the dumps, you're not going to a seminar to sit down and say, yeah, boy, I could relate to that. You really want that one-on-one connection to somebody who could take your time and sit down and make your feelings be heard and make you really understand what you're going through. So yes, the seminar is a good idea, but we should also expand on the amount of spaces we have for students to be able to air how they feel.
Okay.
All right, so I'm also seeing a rebuttal from Ms. Lamesh. 30 seconds.
Okay, so in reference to what you just mentioned, do you think, though, that knowledge of what you are experiencing would assist you as a student? And this is just coming off from your statement. Would that assist, would you think that knowledge into what they are experiencing assist the student in overcoming, yes, having one-on-one sessions, but also being knowledgeable of what they are experiencing?
All right, thank you for that rebuttal in form of a question. So as we continue.
I can't answer the question. I can't answer the question.
Well,
30 seconds, right?
No, well, it's 1 minute for the rebuttal,
no problem.
and any subsequent rebuttal after, it's another 30 seconds, and then that brings us to the end of that question. It's okay, so we move forward with the next question, and this question goes to Ms. Lamesh. For the past school year, the area that has been designated as the student lounge has not been available for that purpose. What plans do you have to address the recreational needs of the student population in that regard? Repeat the question. For the past school year, the area that has been designated as a student lounge has not been available for that purpose. What plans do you have to address the recreational needs of the student population in that regard?
Okay, so students who are on campus do need a space to congregate. Because, well, in between classes, as we know, sometimes you want that area where you can just unwind a bit before you go to your next class. That being said, a student area, some sort of student-related center is needed for students. However, we are encountering situations where students, we need to adhere, first and foremost, to the school rules. So we would love to open the student lounge, but also have rules implemented effectively where the students can actually feel welcome there to go into the student lounge and relax or even study, chat with friends, do group assignments and things like that, but it needs to be within the rules of the institution. To combat with that, we would like to have monitors, so to speak, monitor the student lounge at all times to ensure that these rules are being adhered to.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lamesh. The question is now posited to Ms. Villiers. And the question is, for the past school year, the area that has been designated as the student lounge has not been available for that purpose. What plans do you have to address the recreational needs of the student population in that regard? Repeating the question, for the past school year, the area that has been designated as the student lounge has not been available for that purpose. What plans do you have to address the recreational needs of the student population in that regard?
As I've already made it clear, my focal point is creating that third place, because I believe strongly in having that space in order for students to have that peace of mind and calm. However, Excelsior's whole thing is innovation and renovation. We already have so much beautiful places on campus where we do intend to use, if we win, in order to create what we call a student center. And just to kind of leech off of my colleague's point, in terms of when it comes to adhering to the school rules, we do know of the situations that transpired in the previous lounge. And there is cameras, by the way, but unfortunately we're always going to have those students who do not listen. But I do not believe that Peter pays for Paul and Paul pays for all, because that's extremely unfair. Instead, the students who are not listening should be dealt with and rectified. And that is how we move forward in that situation. Because even though they no longer have the lounge to now do whatever it is they were doing, I'm not saying, they still have LH classrooms, they have business block, they have so much other places in this school where they still do things that is not within the rules of the institute. So I do not intend to punish those who want to have places to relax in order to have a calm state of mind, to have a little piece of oasis during their classes. And we do intend to make our focal point, as I state, bringing back a student center so everyone can enjoy it. And when I say bring back, I mean better, of course. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Valère. Good. So we move on to the next question. And this is posited to Ms. Valère. The question is, do you believe that all students have a shared responsibility in aiding new students assimilate into the campus life? And what function does the associated student body under your leadership serve in this context? What improvements does your administration plan to make? The question is, do you believe all students have a shared responsibility in aiding new students to assimilate into campus life? And what function does the associate student body serve in this context? And what improvements does your administration plan to make?
First and foremost, we as people have a responsibility to make anyone feel welcomed into a new space. Our whole thing, well, my whole thing is I'm really strong about diversity and inclusivity, because sometimes in a new setting, it may be hard for one to assimilate to the culture. There would be a lot of pressure on you, talking from experience, but having a strong student togetherness and that connectivity makes it easier for people to transition in schools. When it comes to the ASB's role in that, we do intend to have events, breakers, to make the students meet with each other. In our school, we have a distinct separation between the dorm students and the people that come and go, the international students and the people that come and go. And I, as your future ASB president, really want to break that bridge. I want to not have that disparity between us, but a togetherness. To not have so much separation, because it's really clear. You all know what I'm speaking about. And by having a lot of events, of course, and building that third place, which will make people more willing to come to school, I do intend to bridge that gap. So once again, everything goes back to my focal point of having that third place in school, which makes people more willing to stay and participate in events. Because majority of the time, the people that participate in all the events are the dorm children, because it's easily accessible for them. So by creating the third place, I hope to promote more students who commute here to here every day to participate, and as well create ties with the people on dorm as well as the international students.
Thank you, Ms. Valère. Question is posited to Ms. Lemesh. Do you believe all students have a shared responsibility in aiding new students to assimilate into campus life? What function does the ASB serve in this context? And what improvements does your administration plan to make? Do you believe all students share the responsibility in aiding new students to assimilate into campus life? What function does the ASB serve in this context? And what improvement does your administration plan to make?
Okay, to answer your question, as a student population that, as we know, is diverse, we have students from all over the Caribbean and even further than the Caribbean. Students, even from Trinidad here, when they come on campus, sometimes because of culture, they feel that, disconnect. As humans and as students, we are technically social beings, and we like to interact with persons. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you do at some times interact with persons. As a student, our responsibility in classroom, out of classroom, yes, it is social. For us as ASB, in terms of dealing with that, the use of student ambassadors, it's really helpful in that regard. Sometimes when students come on campus, to be greeted by a student ambassador, even on your first time attending or coming onto campus, to be greeted by a friendly face that is also a student, works a lot. It bridges that gap. Well, okay, yes, I feel welcome here, I can study here. For our events, though, because of the time frame that they are held, we propose to speak with administration, because this is a decision with the student body and with administration, in a way that we can get these events placed at certain times where our commuting students can attend. Because oftentimes, because of the time those events are held, they may not get transport to their home. Yes, they may get a drop to Curab or Port of Spain or San Fernando or Arima, but they don't live in the heart of Port of Spain, do they? They may live somewhere else. So when we look at the time frame, we are seeking to speak with administration to see how we can work around that and change that time frame for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ramesh. All right, so we move to the next question. We move to the next question. So the International Students Week, ISW, is an integral part of the Youth experience. Despite that it doesn't only highlight the diversity of our student body, it also promotes community among students and along with cultural awareness. Many students, despite that fact, finish their degree without having the opportunity to participate in such an event in its entirety. How do you intend to reach a wider cross-section of students, not just to attend, but to participate and support ISW, International Student Week? Repeat the question. International Student Week, ISW, it's an integral part of the youth experience. Despite the fact it does not only highlight the diversity of our student body, but promotes community among them, along with cultural awareness, many students finish a degree without having the opportunity to participate in this event in its entirety. So the question is, how do you intend to reach a wider cross-section of students, not just to attend, but to participate and support ISW?
Okay, so ISW is actually a wonderful initiative of the university where we get to experience, as you indicate, diversity, and we experience our other students who are from other islands and beyond. To get students more involved in that, we need to also bring awareness to our cultural clubs. To do that, we would propose having cultural days where clubs themselves take that day and they walk around campus, or they produce like a small fair where the students are able to interact with persons of that culture. That actually extends ISW throughout the semester. In a sense, it isn't limited to that 1 week. Also, we would like to see involvement in terms of the food, where we can have the cafeteria have, maybe this week they have some some St. Lucian dish. Next week we can have another dish from another country, where students experience culture through food, not just through beliefs. And that way we reach more students, reach a wider population. And yes, that's how we propose to work with that.
All right. The question is now posited to Ms. Valère. Ms. Valère, International Students Week, ISW, is an integral part of the Houston experience. Despite the fact that it not only highlights the diversity of our students, but also promotes community among them and cultural awareness, many students finish the degree on campus without having the opportunity to participate in this event in its entirety. The question is, how do you intend to reach a wider cross-section of students, not only to attend, but to participate and support ISW? I repeat the question. The ISW, or International Students Week, is an integral part of the USC experience. Despite the fact that ISW not only highlights the diversity of our students, of our student body, but also promotes the community among them and promotes cultural awareness. Many students finish the degree on campus without having the opportunity to participate in this event in its entirety. The question, how do you intend to reach a wider cross-section of students, not just to attend, but to participate and support ISW?
This question, Benjamin, touches on a lot of points. First and foremost, ISW, the fair is a great initiative, right? But it also shows that our club culture in school, it's not really a high one. You see that from the turnout. Majority of the people that was at the fair this year were once again dorm students. And why is this? Everything goes back to the creation of this third place. We have clubs, we have had a club fairs and whatnot, and people have attended, but a lot of people didn't really stay back in school because why? These clubs do not have places to flourish and promote themselves, to make people more aware of it. I remember just the other day I was talking to a student and I didn't even know we had a book club because the clubs do not have places to flourish. By having the proper places for clubs to flourish, it would in turn have a higher turnout for events like ISW because people would be more aware of them. And once again, they would be more willing to participate. When you know there is a place for you on campus where you could relax, where you could go to, you can have your interests met, you can join a clique of people that understand you, you would be more willing to participate in the events that school has.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Valère. All right, so just to remind us, we're participating in the 2023 Associate Student Body Presidential Candidate debate. As we come close to the end of this debate, just want to remind persons online that you can submit your questions, and also want to remind persons that are present here that you can also ask questions in a moment. So we approach the last three questions, and this question is posited to Ms. Valère. Involvement in associated student body activities can sometimes be low. How will you create awareness of the ASB's role and improve engagement with the student population? Involvement in the ASB among students can be sometimes low. How will you create awareness of the ASB's role and improve engagement with the student population?
So first and foremost, we have this culture in school where I usually never know we have an event until like 2 days before. I don't know why that is like that, but that also comes from having a proper working PRO, and my PRO is excellent, by the way. So first and foremost, by the PRO and their committee being able to truly access the students, that would help in reaching that bridge. So people will not be knowing, oh, the ASB having something 2 days before, you already made plans, you won't be able to attend. And also by having proper communication with the administration who helps put out these notices of events. That is a main problem that we have in school and that we do really need to bring the hammer down and rectify, because due to the lack of us having enough notice for events, a lot of people do not attend these events. And once again, it all comes back to my third place. If you have enough notice for these events and you're on campus and you have a nice place to wait for the event, you would be more willing to go. If you're on campus and you have no way to stay in the hot sun, you're staying down for the bus didn't reach yet, think to make you tired, I going home, why waiting for? This event is 3 o'clock, I have no other classes, I have nowhere to wait. It would deter you from staying. So first and foremost, having a proper working PRO, and once again, creating comfortable places for students to wait, to want to be able to enjoy these events.
Thank you, Ms. Valère. The question is posited. To Ms. Lamesh. Involvement in ASB activities can be sometimes low. How would you create awareness of the ASB's role and improve engagement with the student population? The question, I repeat, involvement in ASB activities can be sometimes low. How will you create awareness of the ASB's role and improve engagement with the student population?
Okay, so that's an excellent question, and it's something that we are facing currently. And yes, proper time management will assist with that. When I say time management, as my colleague here stated, we cannot properly attend an event if we just heard about it. So having that information available to students beforehand, and when I say beforehand, not 2 days, not 3 days, but a lot longer than that, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in order to make your proper plans. However, with the use of technology, we can reach more students that are on campus and off campus. So with the use of WhatsApp, the use of things such as QR codes, where we post these QR codes amongst the different schools on campus, we use just the reception area. We get permission to use reception area where we can post up this information. Knowledge and communication assists greatly in this aspect, and as indicated prior by my colleague, your PRO is very, very important in relation to this. Publishing these events at a relevantly early time, and with the use of technology, we can negate that problem.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lamesh. Okay, so we're coming to the second of the last questions that we have, and it is going to Ms. Christina. Ms. Christina Lamesh. What are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in the overall activities and experience of the University of the Southern Caribbean? What are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in the overall activities and experience of the University of the Southern Caribbean?
Okay, is it possible you can just repeat that one more time, please?
What are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in the overall activities and the experience at the University of the Southern Caribbean? What are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in the overall activities and the experience at the University of the Southern Caribbean?
Okay, so USC we have quite a few extension campuses. So we can start with those, the campus, in San Fernando and Tobago. For those, we can have more events that involve, and when I say involves, the students at the South Campus, we can either invite them here for events, providing transport to come to the university. Students at Tobago who sometimes they may be able to make it, sometimes we might be able to go there, but we open that communication line where we can either have online meetups such as the friendship event that we had earlier this year. That is quite effective in meeting and greeting students from other institutions, but also amongst our institution with our extension campuses. So that is something that we would like to see happening more, because we can't always go to the extension campuses, but with the use of technology, we can, as the student population, meet and greet and form friendships, create networks, and enhance our education experience through the use of technology in the terms of having these friendship meetings and whatnot.
All right, thank you. And to Ms. Valère, what are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in overall activities and the experience at the University of the Southern Caribbean? What are your plans to keep the extension campuses involved in the overall activities and the experience at the University of the Southern Caribbean?
First and foremost, I don't know if it's already a thing, but what I do intend to do is, it all comes back to the use of technology to be able to have a group chat where us as the ASB executives, as well as the executives of those of the extension campuses, could communicate clearly. Because by having that direct connection, it makes it easier for us to seamlessly understand what is going on between the campuses, because we don't have that connection. A lot of people don't know what's going on in South and what's going on main campus. And I would like to bridge that gap. And as my colleague rightfully said, speed friendships, it definitely needs to have a 3.0. That is something that makes it easy for us to connect through so many places on one interface. Being able to, log into a Zoom session and make friends and whatnot, it's really easy. But my first and foremost focus is, first of all, having the ASB executives of the other campuses in direct contact with us here. So I really believe that would make a difference when it comes to that. The speed friendships and the events and stuff are always a given. It's easy to do, but by first building that connection with the executives and the ASB itself, it should make things easier and move more seamlessly for us to understand what are the needs and the wants of each campus.
Thank you, Ms. Valère. And that brings us to the final question in this ASB 2023 presidential debate. What are some of the attributes of your supporting team members that makes you confident they are effectively and efficiently capable of representing the student body along with yourself? What are some of the attributes of your supporting team members that makes you confident that they are effectively and efficiently capable of representing the student body along with yourself? Yes, that's Ms. Valère.
Oh my God, I was just thinking about all and I was smiling and I got distracted. But there are so many good qualities. I think the main thing that drew me to each one of my nominees were the distinct diversities in each of them. Each of my candidates are really integral and will make amazing people for that part. For example, Kizia. Everybody knows Kizia in the church. Like, how can I not put Kizia for spiritual director? Somebody like Haley, everyone knows her. She has such a lovable personality. She quick with her fingers. She knows how to use that internet. Our PRO needs to have stuff like that. Ashaki, she literally made Sports Day amazing for SciTech. We all saw that. And moving from these qualities, I know that is transferable to the ASB on a larger scale. All of them have this drive and they have the motivation, and I know they will not back down. And that is what I want on my ASB. Not people who would shy away and they will just submit and say, well, it's okay because so-and-so say this, and you know what, like we just leave it alone. No, I want fighters. I want people who would stand by me and they would say, no, we're going to push to this point because our students want this and it is something that we can do. And because of that drive that I see in each and every one of them, is why I believe they are the ideal candidates for each position in the ASB.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Valère. All right, and the question is posited to Ms. Lamesh. Ms. Lamesh, what are some of the attributes of your supporting team members that make you confident that they are effectively and efficiently capable of representing the student body along with yourself? What are some of the attributes of your supporting team members that make you confident that they are effectively and efficiently capable of representing the student body along with yourself?
Okay, so members of my team currently, we are very much experienced within every field that we chose for our portfolio, right? So we come with the experience. We have the character to serve the student population. Amongst that, we also have communication. We communicate really well, not just with ourselves, but with the entire student population. So we come with experience. We come with consistency, because we have been consistent thus far with our workload within the area that we are doing, as can see by our experience within the area that we are doing. So we bring that, and we also, seeing that we are so diverse, collaboration is something that we saw, that we experience currently with our group. We collaborate with each other. We collaborate with each of the schools on campus. So these qualities actually make us really, really strong individuals as we vie for each of the positions in the upcoming elections.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lamesh. All right, so that would have brought us to the end of the debate for this afternoon. I'm seeing a signal of rebuttal from Ms. Valère. Ms. Valère, please make your rebuttal.
Just one statement as we close. A lot of people have experience and they have been in positions of power, but the question I would like to pose is, what have they done with those positions? It's easy to be in a place where you can make a change and have experience and still not make that change. Why? Because that all comes back to drive. If the people I represent, you do not have the drive in order to push and make that change, what is experience? We can all know what to do and what it is, but not being able to actually have the passion to make a difference is what counts. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your rebuttal. So, not seeing any further signal of rebuttal. That brings us to the end of the questions so far, as we seek now to field questions from persons in attendance. Just want to give a moment for anyone who wishes to ask a question to any of the candidates. Anyone wish to ask a question? All right. No, there isn't.
Illegal. That should be illegal.
Okay, so.
Good afternoon. So my question is, I actually have two questions, right? One being.
All right, so can we take one question?
Okay, so one being inconsistency, as in terms of having various spots open. As a leader, what is your take on that? Do you plan to have an inconsistent reign where you leave things open just for a fly-by-the-night person to come and take over, or do you have an aim to set proper things in place?
I love this question, and I love how you describe some of your colleagues as fly-by-the-night, because I see them as really amazing individuals. Hence why I love certain spots open for that exact reason. I cannot see anyone else as politician as Shanti. And because I couldn't find someone to contest that seat, I purposely left it open. Because why fight something that's already perfect? It makes no sense. So that was my reasoning behind that. I left certain seats purposely open to give these people that Christina already so skillfully selected their chance to reign, because it just made perfect sense. I'm trying to connect it with consistency though. It wasn't more about consistency, but more about foresight. Because I had the foresight to realize that these people are perfect for that role. But you could ask the question again, so I could try to see how it relates to being consistent and having foresight.
All right, thank you. We have.
Check. Now, let me make sure that way.
So we take the final question from the audience that I'm seeing.
Final question.
All right, just want to remind persons that questions are asked. Question, was that question directed to?
Me, yeah.
Very well. Continue, please.
All right, so this question here goes to Christina, right? I've been listening to this debate, lovely debate by both candidates, I must admit, can't be biased. Relax now, dog. I know. Anyways, I've been taking my notes, and I've listened to your responses to the various questions, and I realized that you were strongly speaking on education. Education is very important, right? But in terms of your way of leadership, what about integrating other stuff like culture, sports, music, just to name a few? Since you're talking about education, what about the other aspects which is important for student life?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. I believe I would have mentioned holistic education, where we embrace and we include all other aspects of education. When we hear the term education, we tend to think about a classroom setting, but in essence, education is everything that we learn, and we learn it through everything we encounter, everything we speak, everyone we speak to, all the material that we interact with. So it's not just the classroom. Yes, we will be including sports, we will be including languages if we can, and all other activities that assist and aid education. So education is not just academic, it is extracurricular, it is social, it is cultural, holistic education.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lamesh.
That was a good answer.
And that has now brought us to the end of our debate, our presidential debate for the 2023 Associated Student Body election. So we had the debate from the participants, Ms. Fatima Valère from Team Excelsior and Ms. Christina Lamesh from Team Uplift, who participated in this year's Associated Student Body election 2023 presidential debate. We want to thank you for joining us. Those of you who would have been here with us throughout, we want to thank those who would have joined us online. And of course, we want to wish you on behalf of the university a wonderful evening and remind you to continue following the campaign trail as things warm up leading towards the 27th of April. Election day. Polls open at 8 a.m. and will close at 8 p.m. So share the word as we progress to our climax, which is our election day or polling day, after which we will have an election night watch. So signing off to you, we will give the candidates 30 seconds. 30 seconds for their parting shots or 40 seconds for the closing remarks to you at this time. Ms. Valère?
I would just like to say, even though after all these debates and whatnot, this election is individual. So vote for who you believe will seriously make a change. Vote for those that you can clearly see will fight for you. And vote for Excelsior, because we're excellence through service. And each and every one of my candidates that I skillfully created, it wasn't fly by night, contrary to belief, excellent for that point. And of course, follow us on our Instagram handles. You guys will see that later.
Ms. Lamesh, thank you so much, Ms. Valère.
Firstly, thank you all, everyone who joined us today to listen to us as we had this debate, or rather more a discussion as we move forward. I would like you all to follow the campaign trail, yes, as we relate with you, release content, and we communicate with the student population. And, you know, check out our team. We do have excellent, passionate, uplifting individuals as part of Team Uplift. Vote come April 27th. Vote for Team Uplift.
All right, so thank you so much, candidates, esteemed candidates, and distinguished candidates and audience. So signing off here once again from the Associated Student Body presidential debate. Once again, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful evening, everyone.